So they're busy telling us what I'll get from them. Things I don't need. Everything. Convenient, smarter, faster, happier. Is that right? But they don't tell you the side effects, do they? They don't tell you about the disassociation, the dysfunctionality, the kids, the teens who are jaded, addicted, bipolar, suicidal, delinquent, sociopathic, institutionalized, possessed. You're literally climbing over people. They used to call it possession in the old days, you know, when the Meads took care of you, or the local witch doctor did his piece on you. They used to call you possessed. Well, we are still possessed today. Actually, if you ask any churchmen, they'll tell you that the rate of possession has gone up since the advent of the television. Oh, yeah. The whole theme of this talk is about how we are going to get symbol literacy so we can graduate and evolve spiritually. Because, as Nietzsche clearly pointed out, we have the misfortune, or the fortune, who knows which, of being the only creature who must constantly overcome himself in order to live fully. So there is a drag factor. There's individuals who absolutely are bent double, working overtime to make sure that we do not evolve and that our children regress, that civilizations are in retrograde. What would happen if a pharaoh came back today? And some of the techniques that they use in this psychic dictatorship are words, symbols, colors, rhythms, light, movement, mudras, which means hand positions, gestures, which have been used for aeons as means of spiritualization, used by cults, infused with mysticism, are now being used on us for quite an opposite agenda. To drag us down into the pits of our own miasma, our own hells. As Carl Jung said, consciousness is a recent acquisition of nature. It is still in an experimental state, so to speak. It is frail, menaced by specific dangers, and easily injured. As anthropologists have noted, one of the most common mental derangements that occur among primitive people is what they call the loss of a soul. Take this comment that he's talking about and transpose it to our societies today. That is exactly what is happening. The loss of soul. How is this technique done? What is going on? How are they doing this to us? You've heard the story of the zombie, right, in Haiti? Well, the zombie was a person just like you or I, and they slipped something into his drink. And that is the resin, or the potion, or the liquid, or whatever you want to call it, the solution from the datura plant. Now, if you drink that, you become kind of zombified, but the next day you kind of be back to normal. So every day, you see, the witch doctor had to continually administer the datura plant poison, otherwise it wouldn't work. Well, we have the same thing today. Only it's called TV. It's called the media. Every day, the steady diet of predigested mumbo-jumbo. And it really reminded me of this wonderful movie called The Devil Rides Out, in which the satanic characters, and he's busy hypnotizing somebody. He says that your will is leaving you, slipping away, and you are beneath my influence. Though your eyes are open and you seem aware, you are in fact asleep. Your faculties dormant, your ability to act and think subservient to my will. That is the agenda. The consequence on the grassroots level is that we are running around shopping malls, busy spending and buying and being busy with all of that. 6 hours a week, the average person spends shopping, as opposed to 40 minutes a week with their children, and then we wonder why we got problems. Research has shown that in the first few milliseconds of your perceiving something, we do not only unconsciously comprehend what it is, but we decide whether or not we like it. The cognitive unconscious presents our awareness with not just the identity of what we see, but an opinion about it. Our emotions have a mind of their own, one which can hold views quite independently of your rational mind. And the demographics have changed since even the 50s of how much change there's been by the advent of the media. The word consumer actually comes from consumption, and it didn't mean anything good. It actually meant to pillage, to desecrate, destroy. And if you know, consumption was the term that was used when you had tuberculosis, when you couldn't breathe, when you had no life force. The consumer. Well, before we get to how they're doing it, we got to say who is doing it. So a little recap on the fact of other things that you've heard here is that there is an occult history of America. And these are the individuals who have always used symbolism coming out of the ancient world, as Jordan and others have shown. The man on the left is Adam Weishaupt, who was the head of the Illuminati, whose origin date was May 1st, 1776, quite close to July 4th, 1776, the founding of America. His mantle passed to Giuseppe Mazzini, who then, when he passed away, the mantle of the Illuminati passed to the man on the right, who is called Albert Pike. Everyone in this room should be familiar with who this man is and what he is about, because he brought what is called Scottish Rite Freemasonry system to this country. Scottish Rite Freemasonry. And the symbols on the dollar bill are the hallmarks of this order, this secret society that George Washington and other of your founding fathers were warning about. If you go to the memoirs and read it, they were Freemasons. But Freemasonry was a positive, basically philanthropic society at that time, and was infused by these negative elements from Bavaria and from the old world of Europe. And they warned against it. In fact, the Duke of Brunswick, the head of Grand World Freemasonry, had stood up in the 17th century and asked for the disbanding of World Freemasonry completely, because he was aware that it had been infused with negative elements of Illuminist philosophy. And George Washington and others in this country did likewise. Unfortunately, nothing happened. And the Illuminati were able to infiltrate this societies of Freemasons, and they're still operating today. And this has a bearing on what we'll be talking about. Here is a proof, of course, just for anyone who doesn't know, that the founding fathers definitely were involved in Freemasonry. You'll notice that on the Washington bust there, it says Freemason and First President. Now let's read that again. Freemason and First President. Not the other way around. Thank you. Important detail. To go into Masonry, endless story, can't do it, haven't got the time. But the point is, just the word alone, just my innocent fascination with words and terms that these individuals use. M-A-S-O-N. If you actually draw a hexagram on the pyramid, you will find that that actually inscribes. It's been in front of you for many generations, but you don't notice it. Remember Edgar Allan Poe? You want to hide something, you put it in plain view. Jordan Maxwell talked about the scorpion sting, the double scorpionic sting, remember, of the tail? Remember that? Look at the prongs of the banner there and ask yourself something about symbolism. These people have never hidden who they are, so we're not talking like Ken Thomas was saying, forget a conspiracy theory, it's all conspiracy, no theory. Here you have it, at the G8 summit, G8 summit, peak, summit. You have all these fine fellows sitting around at a round table, which is of course coming from the Celtic mythologies of Arthurian legends, with a pyramid in the middle. Here's Mitterrand of France, Bill Clinton of America, Blair, a bunch of other criminals, I'm not aware of who they are. And here's Larry, Moe, and Curly. You think they're all from different parties? Think again, simple dialectics. They're all in the same gang. I'm preaching to the choir here, so we'll not spend too much time on that. But you see, what we have to understand is that the girl next door gets involved too, or what they put before you as the girl next door are people who often have, as Arizona Wilder will only be too happy to tell you, long associations with fraternities and secret orders. Again, the pervasiveness of occultism right in the face of people if they only know where to look. The tarot cards. Nothing negative about tarot cards, nothing negative about the occult. But they're using it. In the cards, in the tarot deck, the major arcana, card number 4 is what we call the Emperor. It shows a king sitting in a marble throne with a stern countenance. Now wait a minute. If you go to Washington, D.C. and look at the Lincoln Memorial, what do you see there? Most statues of presidents are standing, aren't they? Or they're a bust. Isn't there something peculiar about that symbol? Where do you think they got it? It came from the tarot. It has occult origins. The very symbol of the Lincoln Memorial of the great president sitting in the chair with that type of countenance has an origin in the occult. One of the symbols that should be well known, pretty generically known, is the famous handshake of the craft members. And in corporate logos, you'll see this constantly. I can only share with you a very small amount of the work that I've been doing since I was 13, but I'm sure that the point will be made that when you look at these ad copy again or billboards, you'll start to see these associations and understand more what they are. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know how that one got in.